All right, let's talk about something truly incredible today, the science of supermemory. We're going to explore how an ancient sound code, yeah, a specific mantra, is now being validated by modern neuroscience. It's being shown as a tool that can literally physically rewire your brain for intense focus and, well, academic excellence. So, let me just start by asking you a question. We're always told to just focus, right? As if it's some kind of switch we can just decide to flip on. But what if that whole way of thinking about it is just wrong? What if focus isn't a skill you learn, like tying your shoes? And this is the absolute core of what we're talking about. Focus is not a skill, it is a biological state that your brain enters. It's a very specific pattern of electrical and chemical activity. You can't just force it to happen. Nope. You have to create the right conditions for your brain to shift into that high-performance state. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack. To really get our heads around this, we kind of have to deconstruct our old way of thinking. So let's start by totally reframing what concentration actually is. Now listen to the language in this quote. This is what's so interesting. It doesn't say the ability to concentrate. It says the depth of concentration. You see the difference? It frames it not as something you do, but as a state of being you enter. A deep, calm, powerful state that lets your intellect just shine. Okay, so if focus is this special neurological state, how in the world do we get there? Well, ancient traditions have long suggested that there are specific tools for this. And I want you to think of it less like magic and more like a precise sound code that's designed to interact with our own biology. And the specific code we're looking at today is the Gayatri Mantra. Now, don't think of it as just a prayer or something religious. For our purposes, think of it as a piece of sound technology, a very precise sequence of vibrations that's been engineered to trigger a very specific and very beneficial response in your brain. But how does a sound actually do that? It's not just some vague, abstract concept. There is a proposed physical mechanism, a sort of biological gateway that lets this sound code get to work. 24. Just that number, remember it. It is the absolute key to this entire mechanism we're about to break down. And here's where it all just clicks together. It's so elegant. The Gayatri Mantra is made up of 24 distinct syllables. And, get this, the theory is that as you pronounce each one, your tongue systematically touches 24 specific pressure points on the palate, the roof of your mouth. It's almost like you're typing a command on a biological keyboard. So, what's this keyboard plugged into? Well, these pressure points are believed to stimulate what ancient texts call the Medha nadi. You can think of it as a subtle energy channel that's directly linked to your higher intellect. In today's terms, this pathway is thought to activate key areas in your brain's limbic system and hypothalamus, the parts that regulate memory, emotions, and learning. This is the gateway. When you activate it, you kickstart the brain's shift into a state of super learning. Now, look, an ancient theory is one thing. It's fascinating. But what happens when we drag this idea into the 21st century and put it under the lens of modern science? What do we actually see when we scan the brain while this is all happening? Well, in 2017, researchers at the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology in Delhi did exactly that. They used fMRI machines, the big scanners that map brain activity by tracking blood flow, and they studied people's brains while they chanted the mantra. And the results? They were pretty remarkable. The scans showed a major increase in blood flow to the prefrontal cortex. Now, you got to understand, that's the CEO of your brain. It's the part that does the heavy lifting. And this activation led to enhanced executive functions. That's a fancy way of saying you get better at planning, at resisting distractions like your phone buzzing, and at solving complex problems. And the bottom line? A measurable improvement in working memory. It's like upgrading your brain's RAM. And this is where it really gets fascinating for me. You compare those modern, high-tech fMRI findings with this ancient insight, the idea of awakening dormant centers. Suddenly, that's not just a beautiful metaphor anymore, is it? The IIT Delhi study shows it happening in real time, on a brain scan. You can actually see the brain directing more power to its highest command centers. So what does all of this actually feel like from the inside? What's the end result of all this biological and neurological activity? Well, it's about changing your brain's fundamental operating frequency. Just look at this transformation. On the left, you've got the typical student brain state, right? Chaotic beta waves. That's the feeling of stress, of constant distraction, of that mental fog. But the practice shifts the brain into these smooth, high-performance alpha waves. And that is the neurological state of flow. That's deep focus, total clarity, and the ideal state for super learning. And maybe the best part of all this is that this profound neurological shift doesn't require hours of difficult, complicated practice. Not at all. The research points to a very simple protocol. Just 10 minutes of daily chanting is enough to begin the process of physically rewiring these neural pathways for better focus and memory. So there you have it. We've seen the ancient theory, we've walked through the biological mechanism, and we've seen the modern scientific proof. The path is all laid out. So the only question left is the one for you. Are you ready to rewire your brain?